Have you ever wondered why in haunted or possession footage, the person at the center is almost always a woman? Why they do not just tremble or scream, but some of them crawl straight up the ceiling, bending their bodies into angles the human body cannot endure. In today's video on Mystery Files, we have compiled real camera footage that makes even the most skeptical viewers hesitate. From a night shift in a hospital where a body beneath a white sheet suddenly sits upright, to a female patient climbing onto the ceiling moments after a doctor adjusts her spine, and quiet homes where a hand appears behind a sofa, or a wife floats upward and drops directly onto the bed.
These are not legends, not made-up stories, but real cameras, real witnesses, and moments that if you were there, you would not dare turn off your bedside light. Be brave enough to watch until the end.
This footage begins very normally. A hospital staff member working the night shift walks through a routine check in a rarely visited area. This is where covered patients are placed, a space everyone wants to leave as quickly as possible. A long hallway, cold lighting, no conversation, no loud machines, only dry footsteps echoing. Then comes the moment that changes everything. A figure lying beneath a white sheet suddenly sits upright. No warning signs, no light twitching, no shaking. It sits straight up, as if waking from sleep. The CCTV camera captures it clearly enough that you cannot comfort yourself by saying you saw it wrong. The staff member's reaction is what convinces me this was not staged. He freezes for exactly one breath. Then he turns and runs. Straight ahead, no looking back, no checking again. That is the reflex of someone who just saw something the brain could not process in time. When the video spread, social media exploded with debate. Some pointed to post-mortem muscle reflexes, something medicine has documented before. It sounds reasonable until you see how cleanly the body sits up. No stiffness, no sluggish movement.
Others believe the camera captured a moment outside of science. And no matter which side you choose, one truth remains clear. If you were on duty that night, you would have run too. Not out of superstition, but out of survival instinct.
This story was sent to us by Dr. Andrew Whitmore, a chiropractor with over 15 years of experience at Westbridge Chiropractic Center, a private clinic in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. In the email attached to the footage, he stated one thing plainly. This was the only case in his career that made him stop working alone at night. According to intake records, the patient was Emily Carter, female, 27 years old, American, arriving at approximately 6:20 p.m. The clinic was nearly empty at the time, with only Dr. Whitmore and a nurse preparing to leave. Emily complained of a severely misaligned neck, as if twisted incorrectly, accompanied by headaches and several nights of insomnia. Her voice was normal, her demeanor cooperative, with no signs of panic or psychological instability. Dr. Whitmore stated the initial exam looked no different from a typical chronic neck strain. Although Emily's vertebrae were unusually stiff, all indicators were still within safe limits to proceed with a standard adjustment. The moment the adjustment ended, the neck joint produced an unusually loud, dry cracking sound. Emily opened her eyes with a vacant stare that sent chills down his spine, then quietly slid off the table, stood up, and placed both hands on the wall beside her. Before he could ask if she was all right, Emily began climbing the wall. No hesitation. She climbed straight up, pressing her body flat against the surface, then continued onto the ceiling. Within seconds, both hands and feet were firmly attached to the ceiling. Her body arched backward at an angle Dr. Whitmore stated was anatomically impossible. The clinic's security camera recorded the entire event, After a few seconds motionless on the ceiling, Emily dropped down, landed on both feet, adjusted her jacket, and walked out of Westbridge as if nothing had happened. Emily never returned. The phone number on file could not be reached. The address listed led to a house abandoned for years.
Dr. Whitmore ended his account with a chilling detail. From that day on, he never worked late shifts alone again. And every time he steps into the adjustment room, he still instinctively looks up at the ceiling, even though he knows he never wants to see anything there again.
There are videos that make you want to turn on the lights immediately after watching. This is one of them. The setting is extremely familiar. A woman home alone. No party, no visitors. She lies stretched out on the sofa, scrolling on her phone, enjoying rare quiet. The living room security camera records as usual. Then what no one wants happens. From behind the sofa, a hand slowly appears. The movement is slow and careful, as if trying not to draw attention. The hand gently brushes through her hair. No sudden grab, no attack. That gentleness is what makes viewers feel cold all over. Her reaction is immediate. She jumps up and screams. The scream is real, completely panicked. And seconds later, another sound echoes through the house. A loud, deep scream, clearly male, roaring in rage. What makes this terrifying is what follows. When she turns on the lights and checks everywhere, there is no one there. No open doors, no signs of intrusion, no place to hide. The house is completely empty. This video spread rapidly because it does not resemble cheap scare clips. Fixed camera angle, natural reactions, no background music, no obvious editing. Even the strongest skeptics admit how difficult it would be to stage a moment like this.
I have only one question for you. If you were her, would you ever turn your back on that sofa again?
A viewer sent this footage to us with a very short message. Watch this. I do not know if this is AI or real, but I got goosebumps. The footage is standard night vision, that familiar green tone of bedroom security cameras. A small room, dim lighting, a husband sleeping on his side, the blanket pulled across his body. On the bed sits a dog, motionless, staring in one direction as if it sensed something before the camera did. Then it begins in the worst way possible. The wife lying beside him, or right at the edge of the blanket, suddenly lifts off the mattress. Not sitting up, not turning over. Her body rises as if something above is pulling her. A brief pause, then higher, until her back and shoulders are completely off the bed. Seconds later, she is hovering near the ceiling above the wardrobe. The most shocking part is her head. It begins jerking violently, snapping in sharp movements, as if her neck is no longer human. Hair hanging loose, her face tilting down, then snapping back, shaking repeatedly. This does not resemble sleepwalking, not normal convulsions. It looks like something trying to control a body it does not yet understand. Then, as if someone releases a rope, her body begins to descend. Not slamming down, but slowly, carefully, as if being lowered into position. She floats directly above her sleeping husband, casting a shadow over half the bed. The dog continues staring, not barking, not running, frozen in place. The final moment is hard to watch. Her body lowers further and presses straight down onto her husband. He jolts awake instantly, but too late to avoid the sudden weight. The camera does not capture clear audio, but his reaction alone explains the panic unfolding on what should have been the safest place in the house.
So what do you think this was? Leave a comment and let us know.
Just mentioning dolls already makes many people uneasy, but this footage makes all normal explanations meaningless. A couple living in California began experiencing strange events inside their home. small. Objects were no longer where they should be. The feeling of being watched, even when no one else was around. At first, they blamed stress, fatigue, until it happened too many times. Eventually, they installed security cameras, and that decision is exactly what they regretted. The next morning, while reviewing the footage, they saw their daughter's doll walking on its own down the hallway. Not pushed, not pulled by strings. It moved slowly, steadily, and most importantly, with clear direction, as if it knew exactly where it was going. Another camera captured the doll walking straight into their bedroom. No stopping, no change in direction. Then the recording ends. At that time, there was no one else in the house. No pets, no sleepwalking, no factor convincing enough to explain this movement. After watching the video over and over, the couple reached the same conclusion. The events of the past several weeks were not imagination. Something had been in the house before the cameras were installed, and it was only waiting to be seen.
Some objects are made to be played with, but when they begin to move on their own, the question is no longer why, but who or what is sharing the darkness with you.
This video was sent to us from a residential community on the outskirts of Quezon City, Philippines, where prayer sessions and exorcisms are not unusual. The person filming was a neighbor, standing at the edge of the yard, only managing to turn on the camera after everything had already begun. The central figure is Maria L., a young woman brought in by her family after days of unusual behavior. According to witnesses, Maria had fainted multiple times, spoken words no one understood, and at times her body became stiff as if she had lost control. The exorcism took place on the concrete yard in front of a small wooden house, attended by an elderly man known as Mang Roberto, who regularly led prayer rituals in the area. As soon as the ritual began, Maria suddenly arched violently, her back bent backward at an unbelievable angle, her head thrown back, her neck locked tight, her arms spread wide, fingers clawed, feet pressing hard into the ground as if resisting something unseen. People standing nearby stepped back instinctively. Mang Roberto knelt beside her, holding prayer beads and a wooden crucifix. He pressed the crucifix firmly against Maria's chest while continuously reciting prayers. Her body jerked violently, shaking in rhythmic pulses, her mouth releasing harsh, guttural sounds unlike her normal voice. Each time the crucifix touched her chest, her body arched even further, as if being pulled backward. The camera shakes violently as the person filming steps back. In the frame, Maria suddenly relaxes for a brief moment, then stiffens again, her shoulders lifting off the ground, her back arched high, her head whipping side to side. Mang Roberto does not pull away, continuing to press the crucifix against her chest, his voice steady and firm. After several tense minutes, the convulsions begin to subside. Maria lies more still, breathing heavily, eyes tightly shut. People around her move closer, no one speaking. The exorcism ends in heavy silence. No cheering, no relief, only the feeling that everyone had witnessed something beyond ordinary explanation.
The video ends there. No one claims to know what truly happened. But for those present that day, the image of a body bent backward, pinned down by a crucifix in a small yard, is something they say they will never forget.
Do you believe there are places that look empty, but have never truly been vacant? The church in this footage is located in Florida, sealed shut for months. No services, no visitors, no candles, only wooden pews and cold stone walls. The CCTV camera remained purely for security, and no one expected it to record anything beyond dust and darkness. Then the moment happens. A wooden crucifix hanging quietly on the wall suddenly launches forward and slams straight into the pews below. Not falling, not slipping loose, but flying as if thrown. A decisive movement with force, no hesitation at all. What makes this hard to explain is the setting. No wind, no open doors, no one appearing in frame, no vibration in the building, no sign of a normal physical impact. The security team reviewed the footage repeatedly, changing angles, slowing it down, examining every frame. The result was the same. No reasonable explanation. Some suggested a weakened hook. That sounds reasonable until you look at the trajectory of the crucifix. It does not fall downward. It launches forward.
After that night, the camera continued recording, but no one dared to claim the church was truly empty anymore. And I keep wondering, if a religious symbol can be thrown in silence, what is standing in the darkness to throw it?
The person who sent us this video is Mark Henson, who lives in a quiet residential area in Ohio. Mark stated clearly that he had no intention of filming anyone that day. He was simply sitting in his car, parked along the curb in front of his house, waiting for his wife to grab something inside. The engine was off, the windows were up. Everything was completely normal. Then he saw her. From the end of the street, a woman stepped out from the backyard of a house. It was Rachel, a neighbor Mark had seen a few times before. But this time, the way she moved was not normal. Her body was stiff and bent backward. Her back arched sharply, as if pulled by an invisible force. Her head tilted back, nearly touching her spine. Her neck stretched unnaturally. Her arms hanging limp while her fingers clawed inward. Mark said his first instinct was to lock the car doors. Rachel did not walk straight. She jerked forward in uneven motions, moving toward the car as if being yanked by strings. Each step was heavy and irregular, yet deliberate. When she was only a few feet away, she suddenly snapped her head forward, and then her face rushed straight to the car window. Rachel pressed her face against the glass, so close that Mark could see every detail. Her eyes were unnaturally wide, opened so far that the whites nearly swallowed the pupils. Her gaze did not shift, did not blink. It locked onto Mark as if targeting him. Her skin was pale gray, stretched tight in a disturbing way. She lunged at the window like she had lost control, causing Mark's camera to shake violently and stop recording immediately. Mark said that 5 minutes later, she jerked backward, her body arching again as it had at first, turned away, and walked off from the car quickly and decisively, disappearing behind a neighboring fence. Mark said he only began breathing normally once she was completely gone. He added that during the entire drive home, he was too afraid to look into the rearview mirror.
If you have made it this far without shivering, then subscribe before the next cases, because they may be far harder to sleep after than this. The next video comes from Indonesia, and I do not know whether it is real or staged.
According to what was recorded and stories circulating locally, this man appears at multiple gatherings, always in the role of a healer. He does not set up large altars, does not chant loudly. He simply stands among the crowd and waits until adult women begin entering trance-like states. Each time, the pattern is nearly identical. Their bodies loosen, their eyes drift, their breathing becomes heavy and uneven, as if they are being pulled out of reality. The man steps in, placing his hands in familiar gestures, sometimes holding their shoulders, sometimes gripping tightly to keep them from collapsing. There is no violence, but the movements are decisive, as if he knows exactly when the trance will peak. What draws attention is the frequency. Wherever he appears, trance possessions seem to follow, most often involving women in the crowd. Some believe he is a genuine shaman. Others suspect mass psychological responses triggered by belief and ritual atmosphere. The video shows that after each ritual, the women slowly regain awareness, exhausted but calmer. The question remains, is he healing them, or is his presence the very thing causing the trances to repeat? Some videos make your skin crawl from the very first second, and this is one of them. A homeowner returns after a vacation. Everything appears normal. No forced doors, no disturbed furniture. He checks the security camera just for peace of mind. And then he wishes he had never pressed play. In the hallway, a tall figure suddenly appears. It has a human shape, but it does not walk. It moves by making violent, heavy leaps, fast and awkward, as if the body is unfamiliar with walking. Each impact makes the viewer hold their breath. The entity stops in the middle of the hallway, then slowly turns its head, looks directly into the camera. No hiding, no hesitation. In that moment, the pale face of a woman becomes clearly visible, ghostly white, empty, expressionless. Immediately after, the figure leaps once more and disappears completely from the frame. It does not run out of the house. It does not turn a corner. It simply vanishes. There are no signs of editing, no cuts, no manipulation. Other cameras in the house record no further movement. That leaves many wondering. If this was a real person, where did they go? And if not, what kind of thing can stare straight into a camera like that?
I do not know about you, but if this were my hallway, I would never walk through it alone again.
This is the kind of footage that creates slow unease. No jump scares, no sudden shock, just the sense that something does not belong. A father and son set up a camera in their bedroom to monitor strange nighttime activity. They did not expect much. They simply wanted proof if their feeling was correct. While both are sleeping, the bedroom door slowly opens, very slowly. In the narrow crack, a glowing eye appears. It does not move, does not blink. It stares directly into the room for a long time. A few seconds later, the door opens fully. The hallway outside is empty. No one standing there. No shadow, no footsteps. The sound of the door wakes the father. The camera records him sitting up and beginning to speak. His voice is disturbingly calm, as if he is speaking to something he recognizes. No screaming, no panic, just talking. The conversation eventually wakes the son. The boy stands frozen in fear as the camera continues to capture an unseen presence interacting, but never fully revealing itself.
The most terrifying part is not the eye, but the father's calmness. As if this was not the first time he had spoken to whatever was standing outside the door.
This incident took place in 2025 in Japan, and it is frightening in a very ordinary way. A young female worker named Suki worked the night shift at a mannequin factory. To her, plastic faces and rigid bodies had become normal. After long enough, you stop noticing. That night, while cleaning up at the end of her shift, Suki glanced at a mannequin standing alone in the corner. And right in front of her, the mannequin's head slowly turned to the side. Not snapping, not creaking, just turning. Slowly, intentionally. No machinery was operating. No one else was in the factory. No engine sounds, no floor vibration, only fluorescent lights and a plastic gaze that had just changed direction. Suki's reaction is something you cannot fake. She panicked, left everything behind, and ran straight out. She never returned to that factory again.
Some say it could be temperature, joint structure. But anyone who has worked with mannequins knows they do not turn their heads on their own.
Some things are bought only for display. But when they begin to change without being touched, you understand why sometimes the cheapest things cost the most sleep. And if after everything you have just watched, your room suddenly feels quieter than usual, that is understandable. Hopefully tonight, you will not have to sleep alone. If you want to keep following footage that makes the darkness feel suspicious, do not forget to subscribe to